Let's get it as we are discussing today's Sixers game recap as the Sixers on Wednesday night. And what was the beginning of a 3-game road trip. This would be the tough one of the road trip, though. And they took care of business in Cleveland, a 118-109 victory. Another game where the Sixers against a quality Eastern Conference opponent. Reminder, Cavs are right behind you in the standings. The Sixers went into Cleveland, and do we still call it Quicken Loans? I still have to double check on that. It's been a while since the LeBron Cavs day. But you go into an Eastern Conference foe. Cleveland, obviously near the top of the Eastern Conference, like I mentioned, just trailing us. And you go in there, you were trailing yet again. You found a way to climb all the way back and get the frickin' win out of Cleveland. And you win the series against Cleveland this year. And it's a team that, look, it's a quality team. The backcourt is one of the best. It's one of the best young backcourts in the league. When you got Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, they could score at will. Like they put ISO ball for get ISO ball for them, and they're going to go out there and score. Yeah, Evan Mobley's one of the best young guys. They didn't even have Jarrett Allen here tonight. And they still found a way to take control of the game in the first half. They got themselves to as many as a 13-point lead, and where the Sixers found a way in that third quarter to kind of crawl the way back and find a way to get the lead. And in the fourth quarter, they were just putting the dagger. They were a completely different team from that first quarter in the beginning of the game. And behind the likely characters again, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid. The Sixers were able to come out of this one with a big victory. This was a big one. And we're getting closer to the playoffs. And, I think that the fan base still doesn't know what to make of this basketball team because of the whole second round thing, which we completely understand. But if I'm speaking just on myself, if I'm just speaking as myself, as a Sixers fan, I feel really good about the team heading into the playoffs. We talked about it yesterday during Oi Philly Sports, how the defense is the only really concern that I have. Because offensively, I know they could turn it on. And even like a game like tonight, you saw how James, Joel, and Tyrese were able to turn it on and get the Sixers out of that slump that they were. The cliche it's always said. It's a game of runs. Cleveland got the early run. Second quarter, they did their damage. First half, and the turnovers were just terrible. I think we had 7 turnovers in the first quarter alone. So that's obviously been a big problem with the Sixers as well. But the Cavs were able to capitalize on that and get themselves into a lead. But like I just said, it's a game of leads. And the Sixers found a way to get on them. It's a game of runs, I'm sorry. The Sixers found a way to get themselves on a run. And they were able to create some turnovers on themselves. Cleveland got cold. And the Sixers got hot. And that's bound to happen. That's why I always say, just relax. When I'm watching with people and it's the second quarter, Sixers are down, relax. But with basketball, you can never predict what's going to happen, right? There's going to be a team that may be up 20 points in the second quarter, and then come fourth quarter, it's a 2-point game, and we're going all the way down to the wire, especially with two good teams like Cleveland and like Philadelphia. That is certainly bound to happen. But, yeah, in this game, it was just the Sixers taking advantage of their opportunity, and with their star players, they were able to pull away, and Cleveland just did not have enough in the tank at the end, and it was Philly's game. And they've had this with Cleveland. You guys remember the last time we faced off against the Cavs? We were in Philly, in South Philadelphia, and that was a game where the Sixers just controlled it right off the jump. They had as much as like a 20, 25-point lead. I forget what it was, but they had full control of the game. And the Sixers have had an upper hand on the Cavs all season long, and every opportunity they have faced off against them. Obviously, the story of the game is Joel Embiid as he continues to add on to his MVP campaign. This was an MVP type performance. This was one of those statement wins and statement performances, I should say. 36 points here tonight. He finished with 18 boards, a nice little double-double there. He added on 3 assists. And, of course, the main thing here, ladies and gentlemen, besides the 36 points, he got himself some foul trouble. All right, that's the one thing I will take away. 5 fouls. Obviously, the final foul that wasn't called, or I guess I should say was overturned, the charge on Evan Mobley, which was then called back. That Joel was definitely lucky on that one because it was like 5 minutes left in the game. I think at that point it was still like in the single digits as far as the lead for the Sixers, but that was definitely a big one. But Joel, I mean, he did everything tonight. Knocking down. How about the bank off the glass in the fourth quarter? That was a long one. That was a huge one as well. Just dominating Evan Mobley. Whoever was on him, he was just. They had put a little Isaac Okaro on him at one point, but he bullied down in the paint. He hit his shots. He hit his shots where he feels comfortable. We always talk about, always knocking down those shots on the foul line, especially that fadeaway. And then just on the other end, just being that rim protector that we always know and love. Cleveland, when Joel was on, Cleveland was struggling with trying to score in the paint. And that's something that Joel Embiid just absolutely dominated in here tonight. And that's why I say, like, defensively, there are things that you can reconcile here with the Sixers. When you have the best rim protector, it is tough for teams to score on him. Obviously, the problem has been when he's off the court, and teams then at that point take advantage of having no Joel Embiid out on the court, and they just kind of pound the paint. That's the one that is always the stat that I hate losing, because when you have Joel Embiid, you definitely shouldn't be getting killed in that. But it is always a problem when you have Joel Embiid out there, and you can't have him there all the whole night. Like a night like tonight, Joel Embiid was dominant, right? I mean, we just talked about 36 points, 18 assists. 44 points here in the paint for Cleveland, 30 for the Sixers. And that's, again, not on Joel Embiid, but that's pretty much on just when Joel's not on the court, teams are taking advantage. And that's pretty much what is happening. That's what's been happening all season long. Now, Doc ran a little bit more of the small ball lineup here, with PJ Tucker. The bench was a little bit thin here tonight. And Paul Reed only saw 4 minutes in the first half, so he predominantly went with a small ball lineup when no Joel Embiid was out on the court. Of course, PJ played a lot of minutes, 34, almost 35 in total, and that's just Doc. Well, PJ deserved it as well. PJ was all over the court, giving you the effort, giving you solid defense, going in after with the boards, and just doing the little things that you don't see on the stat sheet. We always talk about with PJ. The reason why we got him is not someone to patent the stats, but someone who's going to do the little things that we've struggled with in the past. The toughness of this team overall has been much better, and that's what makes this team a tough out night in and night out. They may not be the most athletic bunch. They're not going to always guard all these quality teams with athleticism one-on-one. They're going to struggle at that at times, but they will make it as difficult as possible for you. Of course, when you have Joel Embiid, it just makes it tough for teams to kind of score in the paint. And then it shrinks the court for you, because now you're not able to score under the paint. You got to find other ways to score, and if your three shot is not knocking down, then that's a little bit of a problem. But here tonight for the Cavaliers, I'm trying to remember. No one really killed you besides Caris LeVert from the three-point line. He was 5 of 10, 50%, not bad for Caris LeVert. C.D. Osman went 3 for 10 here tonight off the bench. Caris LeVert off the bench as well. He pretty much comes off the bench for the Cavs. You had Isaac Okoro and Lamar Stevens adding 2, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland adding 1. So they didn't kill us too much from the three-point line, but a lot of what Cleveland wanted to do. I was kind of thrown off because Joel Embiid was just that freaking on, or if it was PJ Tucker, in the short minutes that Joel Embiid would sit out, he was definitely big. James Harden again with a big night, 20 points, 12 assists. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I saw the stat correctly, he's the first Sixer in franchise history to have 30 games in his career with 10 points and 10 assists. Or more in those 30 games. So he is now in the Sixers record book yet again. And that's just what James Harden does. And we always talk about this, how dangerous it is when James is just being an offensive plug. I mean, when he's creating for himself, it opens things up for other people. And that's why he's able to drop 28 and 12. And, of course, he made some big shots at the end of the game. That three ball, guys, as of late, it's really come alive. And he's taking threes at a high clip. He definitely is. But he's also knocking down threes when need be, when it matters the most. And it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more efficient at that from here on out. But James, he's got to continue doing what he's doing. working off that pick and roll. I love seeing, I know we talked about Tyrese and James starting together and how it's a defensive liability, and I don't necessarily need to see it, but when they are out on the court together, it does bring a different dimension. You do see times where Tyrese is bringing up the ball or James is bringing up the ball, but obviously James is out, when James is running the offense, things are a little bit slower. Running a little more of a half court offense. We may set up a play, but things are generally going to be more methodical and move a little more slower. Whereas with Tyrese's hand on the rock, more than likely it's on a quick transition or a quick type of play. But things are going to be a little more quicker. Things are going to be high accelerator, or it's going to be go through the hands of Tyrese Maxey. That's what you saw a lot here today, especially in that third quarter. When you're talking about coming back and crawling back, Tyrese was the big one. He was knocking down long range threes. I love the sequence where it was like 6 something left in the fourth quarter. Clock is running down for the shot clock violation, and Tyrese Maxey had Joel Embiid wide open at the top of the key, but with like 4 seconds left, Tyrese made a decision to put it up from a corner. It was a tough shot, and he made that mother effer. That's that's the intelligence type. And just in general, like throughout the game, I saw a more not I don't want to say serious, more a concentrated, Tyrese Maxey. And I thought that was very, very dangerous because we all love Tyrese because of his fun. He's free flowing. He's got a little bit of a juvenile feel to him, which it brings a smile to your face. But I saw a guy who wanted a ball and meant business here tonight, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching that from Tyrese Maxey. So a fun one here from I guess the big three: Joel, James, and Tyrese. Obviously, those guys, when one of those three is going off, you have a good shot of winning a basketball game. And it's been a lot of fun. But all those guys scoring over 20 points here tonight, and they were a big factor of us coming back. Tobias Harris is the other guy in the starting lineup. Not a good one. Very cold. He's been cold. He's been off as of late. He had 7 points. He was 2-7 from the field, 1 of 4 from a 3-point line, and he had his open looks. We always talk about when you have Joel, when you have Tyrese, when you have PJ out there on the court, Tobias is going to get his open looks, and so he's got to knock those down. He just could not knock down those open shots here tonight, and he had the tough challenge of covering Donovan Mitchell for most of the game, which, as we all know, can be very, very difficult. But Donovan was only able to knock down 21. Still good for him, but he usually does a lot more damage on that point. But, holding Donovan Mitchell to 21 and Darius Garland to 15 points and no one else really besides Caris LeVert off the bench killed you, I'll take that. I'll definitely take that. And their front court really was not much. I mean, Evan Mobley came on early but got cold as the game went on. And, something tells me something tells me Lamar Stevens is not something they want to use starting. And I've only seen Isaac Okoro come off the bench for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we'll see. No Danny Green coming off the bench here tonight, and no Ricky Rubio. That is why we saw more Howell Nato. How about Howell Nato getting some starts there? Dude, it's so funny Howell's been able to make a little bit of a career here. He was just absolutely atrocious, and it was frustrating to watch him in a Sixers uniform. But he's doing his thing. No Jalen McDaniels. That's one to note here tonight. He was out. It looks like an illness, injury. He probably just getting some rest. Obviously, a little bit on a road trip. I'm expecting him to start in the next one because he got Charlotte. That's his former team, so I would expect him to be out there. Shake Milton had a solid performance as well. 20 minutes, 11 points. He was perfect from a 3-point line, and that was flowing. George Niang added 2 threes here tonight. He finished with 8 points here. And then, of course, DeAnthony Melton, 15 minutes, 0, a big zilch, a negative 13 as well. Not what he probably expected or wanted, but that's in the reality of what went down. And when we look at some of the other stats here, turnovers were obviously a problem in the first half. That's where you see the high turnover number, 18-10. Still got to get cleaned up, especially against a good team like that. In the playoffs, you don't want to see that happening. Turnovers have been a problem for this team, but definitely something we're going to continue working on, I would expect here. 8 steals to the Cavs, 6 blocks to the Cavs, 2. 52% from the field to the Cavs, 47. 47% from a three-point line to the Cavs 34. That's an interesting stat line, and obviously, when James and Tyrese knocking down the threes the way they did, Shake Milton was perfect from the three-point line. That certainly is going to help up the percentage there. And like I said, besides Caris LeVert, C.D. Osman, no one was really knocking down threes at a high clip, so definitely understandable. 85% from the free throw line to Cleveland 68 is definitely big. They talked about it in the broadcast here today. Beginning of the game, I think the first points for the Sixers were from the free throw line. So it's just the way the game goes for the Sixers. They have two dominant ISO players and James and Joel. It is hard to guard, and they're going to get fouled. That's just how it works. And they go to the line. That's what they do. That they're masters at that. And I keep hearing people complaining, bitching about it. But even though Nikola Jokic goes to the line, he's probably deserving. Or Giannis Antetokounmpo goes to the line, it's probably deserving. But if Joel and James go to the line, it's BS. Refs calling everything for them. It's quite funny, to be quite honest with you guys. Like I said last year, and I'm going to say it again this year. If you can't stop it, don't bitch. If you can't stop it, he's going to go to the free throw line. If you don't want him going to the free throw line, learn how to defend him. And obviously, no one's really been able to stop him. But that's why, when people bitch and complain about Joel and James at the free throw line, I have to giggle because it's like, well, there is a remedy to that. It's just defending him. It's that simple. It's that simple. But look, I honestly I don't mind that. We talk about this team, and when this team is not dictating the pace of the game, they struggle. And that's one way that they can control the pace of the game. The half-court offense, the slow-down offense, something James is mastered at, and it's something that we can be good at if, we do draw up good plays, Doc. But obviously we can win with quickening it up as well. That's one reason why I do like Tyrese and James. Not saying I don't want to say start because, again, it's not about who starts the game. It's about who plays in the game at what times. But when James and Tyrese are in the backcourt together, that's the one thing I do like about them offensively. That you can do different things and you can change the pace of the game with James or Tyrese running the rock. But the problem is defensively again. And when you're going to go up against a good backcourt like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, that's going to be the one thing that you do worry about. It just kind of is what it is. Now I'm thinking about the Eastern Conference, and the top dogs, they really don't have those dangerous backcourts. They have solid backcourt pieces, but not like a Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell type of threat. So I think that the Sixers should be fine in that aspect, but still, the defense is going to have to be it's going to have to continue being a work in progress to see exactly what goes down. But listen, as of right now, Joel Embiid, we talked about it yesterday during Wayne Philly Sports. Joel Embiid's in the thick of the MVP conversation. There's just no way that he is not. And if you watch him play, he looks possessed. He looks motivated. But we talked about it as well. This is a tough stretch that the Sixers are going to end the season on. We saw Phoenix on there. We saw Dallas on there. Golden State was on there. Miami, Boston was all in the stretch at the end of the season here for the Sixers. And this is all going to be a great preparation for the playoffs. And I feel like the Sixers are already starting to treat this. Yesterday's energy felt very much like a playoff game. And that's going to be very important going into the playoffs. Because we all know, once you get into the playoffs, the intensity gets wound up a little bit. The points are a little bit harder to come by. The boards are tougher to get. The intensity is just at 1,000%. And so I want these Sixers to treat these games like the playoffs. Obviously, if you lose, it's not the end of the world, Sixers fans. But you want to start preparing yourself. And I felt like yesterday was a great preparation for it. And you might have one of those games like you did on Sunday against the Wizards where it's just you got to focus. You got to concentrate. If you don't, you're going to lose that. And you should beat the Wizards on a Sunday afternoon game. And luckily they were able to get the job done. And the Sixers win streak now at 6 games. They are getting hot at the right times. At the right time, I'm sorry. But yeah, again, Offense is not really my concern. It's defense, and this is what we're going to have to continue working on. And we'll see if Jalen McDaniel comes back for the Charlotte game. Obviously, that will help out, especially with the perimeter defense. Perimeter defense is where the issues arise here for the Sixers. Can't allow 5 threes to Caris LeVert. Can't let that happen. Can't let that happen. But all right. So again, like I mentioned, next up here for the Sixers, back at it tomorrow at 7 p.m. on a Friday night game against Charlotte. They'll be down in Charlotte for that one. So we'll see how the Sixers respond to that, and that's gonna be an interesting. These two are gonna be interesting ones, right? Because you got Charlotte, you got Indiana, two teams that the Sixers can obviously easily beat. Then you got two against the two against the Bulls, home and away. And then you got the run, like I mentioned. You got the Warriors, Suns, Nuggets, Mavs, Raptors, Bucks, Celtics, Heat. That's all in a stretch of a week and a half. So it's going to be an interesting end to the season. And then season ends April 9th against Brooklyn. So we're less than a month away to the end of the Sixers season. So it's put up or shut up time. You work out those kinks that you need to work on for the playoffs. And let's get that second seed. I think the 1 seed is Brooklyn, or it's Milwaukee's. Let them have it. It is what it is. You just want to be in the top 3 or 4 in the seeding, right? You want that home court advantage. So that's what we'll definitely take. But that's going to do it for me here today, guys. Again, the Sixers take care of business against the Cleveland Cavaliers, winning 118-109, and we are off to Charlotte. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe for more Philly sports. Of course, you can find us wherever you stream podcasts as well, from Apple, Google, and Spotify. Find us under Owen Philly Sports. Until next time, I go by the name El Parcero Philly, and I'm telling you guys, let's go Sixers. Talk to you guys.